16th, I think. It's been a little while. I've just been watching all this Brexit stuff with interest. Not on the lamestream media. I really don't bother with it. We don't watch TV. We don't listen to the radio. We don't buy into the state's propaganda and lies. We got our news from independent sources and we check it, and that gives us a good strong overview. I mean, everybody at work's going, oh, Brexit, oh, and well, stop listening to it then. You know, if there's one thing I've learned is you can listen to all these talking heads from Parliament and all these lying newscasters who are just pumping out this propaganda and crap, but there's only one or two key things every week from what I can see anyway. And today something extremely interesting has come up which I want to flag up, and which everybody listening to this needs to start pumping their MPs about, which is WTO Rule 24, which would basically enable us to leave the European Union, give us 2 years to negotiate a proper trade deal. We would only have to pay about £9 billion, and that's arguable, because the accountants have been looking at the figures and they reckon that we only actually owe excuse me, about £9 billion. And then if you start looking at assets that the British government has funded via these European schemes and that, it might be that they actually owe us some money. Also, we buy most of the cars produced in Germany, since the European Union destroyed our car industry with the complicity of our government. The Koreans build our ships, and all the heavy industry comes from Korea, because that's part of the globalist plan to move all the heavy industry east, because there's a huge pool of cheap labour there. So WTO Rule 24, which the politicians and all that have been hiding from us, saying, you know, oh well, we're gonna crash out. Well, that's just change agent speak. They've known about this rule all along, and what have they done? Lied to us all the way along. This rule means we can trade with the European Union under WTO rules, but keep the tariff-free parts of the agreements with the European Union for 2 years. So it pleases Remainers and it pleases Brexiteers, because there won't be no crash out, but there also won't be huge tariffs imposed. And let's face it, you know, a lot of stuff that we bring in from abroad has got EU tariffs nailed onto it, which we have to collect, and the EU pockets it. Now we can just abolish those, and then we can buy the stuff cheaper. Also, VAT goes straight to the European Union, so they can abolish that as well, and everything will be 20% cheaper. So what I'm saying is, they've been hiding WTO Rule 24, hoping that nobody is going to notice. The Attorney General, who's a political appointed shill anyway, he's produced a report which Theresa May's refused to publish, and I bet you 10 quid, well I don't, because I'm not a betting man, because betting's evil, but I bet you no money at all that Rule 24 is in the Attorney General's report. So make of that what you will. Go and have a look at it. I found it. It takes 2 seconds to start page or DuckDuckGo it, and read it. read the analysis if you can't understand the legalese. It's pretty high level stuff, but it's not that difficult to understand. It's basic contract law when you sort of pick it to pieces. So there we have it. If we implemented Rule 24, and I know that this has been passed directly to Corbyn. Corbyn's the only one that can force the government, because the government's got no interest in Brexit, never have had. All Theresa May does is read out pieces of paper given to her by the Germans and the French. Did you know this as well, that Brussels over the weekend rejected the rollout of 5G, but the rest of us have got to have it? I wonder why that is. So we've got to keep the pressure up on that as well. And because the government's losing the narrative, the government's no longer fit for purpose, Parliament's no longer fit for purpose, they're trying to roll out these draconian laws about anybody who runs a blog or anything that says any nasty words against the government can have criminal charges or fines or both. So they've lost, but they don't know it yet, because they live in this little bubble. This is why revolutions happen, because these people live in these little bubbles, and then the general population, the important people, get so pissed off with the dictators not delivering that they then storm the place like they did, like the French did, like the Bolshevik Jews did in Russia, although that was something different. That wasn't really anything to do with government corruption, but mainly the French Revolution and that. And I can't remember what it was over here, but eventually we had a civil war over here. That was the last time, I think. But the king, the king was defending his divine right, and Parliament thought it had their divine right, and neither of them have got a divine right. The people have got a divine right, but not as a group. We've all got inalienable rights that we were born with. We need to let these people, we need to stop other people from ruling us. This Brexit is, I would put money on this Brexit is throwing a huge spanner in the globalist works. Let's face it, if the EU realise they're not going to get their £39 billion, that could bring down the euro, which will spark a global economic crisis. But they'll find money for police, they'll find money for servers, so they can roll out all this 5G, they'll find money for all that high-tech stuff, and then when they switch it on, we're all dead. Problem solved. So we've got to start waking up, we've got to start doing stuff. We can't just sit back and think everybody else is going to do this for us. Now, I'm not talking about violent revolutions, because they've got all the guns, and as we've seen before, and as we're seeing in France right now, they're quite happy to use them. They just employ low IQ psychopaths, give them a uniform and a costume and a gun, tell them they're important, and then tell them to go and follow orders. You'll never find a good person wearing a uniform like that. You'll find good people wearing firemen's uniforms and ambulance people's uniforms and nurses' uniforms, but you won't find good people wearing police uniforms or army uniforms. think I've talked about it before, a video of an American colonel feeding these two black kids who were hungry, or they were coming trying to raise some money for their church, and they were wet and cold, and everybody was saying how wonderful he is. And I put a comment on there which got no response, believe it or not, that yeah, but the problem is, if his superior officer tells him to turn around and shoot those two kids, he'll pull his 9mm out and shoot them in the head without even thinking about it, because that's what he's been indoctrinated to do. So how can that possibly be a good person? Because a good person, by definition, is somebody who will weigh up the right and the wrong of the situation. If the kids were pulling out 9mm and robbing the place, he would have every right to pull his sidearm out and dispatch them in self-defence. But all the followers don't do that. You know, the internet is stegged with videos of police overstepping their powers because people won't comply, and you've got to comply because I've got a costume on. You know, even if they're not right, or if they've got no idea whether they're right or wrong, they're just doing what they're told. But Parliament's in such a bubble, they're a disgrace, an absolute disgrace. They've made us, as a country, a laughing stock. We used to be a proud nation, you know, and I'm not talking about the empire and that. I'm talking about the people. We used to be proud of our country. We used to be a nation of gardeners and shopkeepers. And the Satanists are building a prison for us. Brexit's thrown a spanner in the works because most people are inherently good. You've got I mean, how much more satanic can you get than somebody like Subri, who doesn't even make any hint at covering up her hatred of the people who actually elected her into Parliament? I've seen videos of MPs saying, I'm not here to represent the people, and they're not lying, it's true, because Parliament's a for-profit corporation and we're all wage slaves. So some of them will hide it and pretend to be doing the right thing for the people, and some people don't give a shit. And unfortunately, most of the people in Parliament, I would say a good 60% of them, maybe more, don't give a shit. They're all looking out for their golden handshakes, their industry golden handshakes. Did you know MPs, military companies now, aren't lobbying Westminster MPs anymore because they're irrelevant, because all our military's been transferred to the European Union. What's going to happen? What's going to happen if they're forced to implement Rule 24 and they've already given away 3/4 of our military? You've got the Commander-in-Chief of the, I can't remember what rank he is, it's some costume with lots of gold braid on it, head honcho of the Royal Marines, proud to wear an EU flag on his shoulder. Well, he's just a satanic traitor as far as I'm concerned. He should have turned his back on that flag, but he won't, because he's an order follower and he's just following orders. He don't give a shit about the people or what's happening to the country. It's just, sir, yes sir, I'll go and kill those babies in Yemen, I'll go and drop bombs on Syrian civilians. It makes me sick. And Parliament's acting exactly the same way. But it's prophesied in Revelation that we will be leaving the European Union. When that happens, which it will, what we need is strong people in Parliament, purely because big business is going to try and flood us with shit food and shit products and what have you, and try and dumb down regulation, when what the politicians should be doing is what they've done in Russia. They have no GMO. They've banned Monsanto and Bayer from the country, so they have no GMO. They have no sorry, I'm just concentrating a minute. They've even given South African farmers who are being basically drummed out of South Africa by the communist government there, they're giving them free land, and they're organic farming. They're an exporter of grain now, all organic, and other products. Apart from their drinking, they're probably the healthiest people on the planet at the moment, the Russians. And we got all this GMO crap and stuff, and the Americans will try and flood the country with it, when what we need to be doing is putting this money, putting it in the NHS, privatise it, bring it back under national control, the NHS, but cut it down. Nobody's got a right to turn their dick into a vagina on the taxpayer. You know, if they want to save up and have it done, they could pay to have it done in an NHS hospital. That's fine. But I don't see why I should pay for it. I haven't got kids, so why should I be forced to pay for schools? 13% of my council tax goes on murdering children in foreign countries, or financing stuff like NGOs. Why do you think these employees of charities like BBC Media Action and that are in jail in Iran? Because they've been promoting regime change. They've been, in inverted commas, training teachers in cultural Marxism. All the schools and all the universities and stuff over here, you know, I mean, teaching children of 4 years old about LGBT. They shouldn't even be teaching them about sex. You know, it's about breaking down the nation state, and these people have got to be stopped. It's a Marxist agenda. It's about building a global communist prison, one world prison, and they're using George Orwell's 1984 like an instruction manual, and everybody's buying into it. You've got these scrying mirrors in your houses, these big black TVs, you've got them in your pockets, black smartphones, scrying mirrors. Now, if you don't know what a scrying mirror is, it's used in witchcraft for summoning demons. I'm not going to tell you exactly how to do it, but you'll basically, you can bring up a demon in the mirror, and the image will come up in the mirror. You can ask it questions or do what you want to do with it, but I think it brings up your inner demons. And I think this is what this 5G rollout's about. Everybody's got these devices. Everybody's got them in their houses and on their person, and you know damn well that that 5G is designed to put voices in your heads, give you nosebleeds, give you strokes, all sorts of stuff. Can make you think. I mean, DARPA's been designing this stuff since the 1950s. They used it on the Greenham Common women who reported having voices in their heads just after new antennas went up at Greenham Common Air Base, which is an American nuclear bomber base in Hertfordshire, I think. So, you know, how difficult is it if you've got a transmitter on every single lamppost to make this extra device that's on your person, which will just amplify the signal, but then it's easy to make you think what they want you to think. And if they turn it up high enough, they could just kill you. So if a group of people in a certain set of streets are rioting, they'll just turn up the transmitters, and your phones, your Wi-Fi, your Wi-Fi in the telly, the 5G transmitters on the street lights, the cell towers, will all be turned up, and you will get fried. You'll get cooked. And this is how they're going to control everybody. In a minute, if we don't stop this, everybody's going to compulsorily have to have a smartphone. In China, they've just brought out an app. You know, if you think I'm nutcase, China's just brought out an app which you have to answer questions. You have to do it every single day, and if you do that, you get rewarded with social crediting points. So they've just rolled it out, and it's voluntary at the moment, but it isn't going to be voluntary forever. Once a lot of people have got it, they'll make it compulsory, and if you don't use it, you'll end up in a gulag. They've got millions of people now in China who are low on the social crediting thing, and this is what communists do. This is what communists do. So that was entertaining, wasn't it? So bring it on. Let's hope that Corbyn, who I know that he's had this put in front of him, and all of us, we've got to spread the word, which is what I'm trying to do now, and I've already done it at work. We've got to start pushing hard on our MPs and stuff, and letting everybody know that this rule exists. If this rule exists, then they'll have to act on it, because they can't keep it under the table any longer. Cat's out of the bag, as it were, and it's tearing up the living room. And if they just ignore it, well, it's going to turn messy, I think. I saw a video, I can't remember who it was by, or listened to a video, and it's really quite interesting. Somebody done a survey of what people thought about the Brexit debacle at the moment, and you know, they didn't ask all the questions that I would have liked to had answered, like why wasn't the Queen wearing the state crown when she opened Parliament? Was wearing an EU hat, blue with gold dots on it, which makes it an unconstitutional parliament. But they were asking questions like, do you think Parliament has let the country down? 70%. And they asked Remainers and Leavers, and when you aggregate all these different questions, 70% basically said, we don't care now, we want out. Even the Remainers. And it's not just about being angry with the government, but the European Union turned around and showed its true colours, trying to fuck us over, and the government via the Cabinet Office. It's not Theresa May. Don't get angry with Theresa May. She's only a piece of crap because she doesn't know right from wrong. If she had any balls at all, she'd have turned around and told them to stick it up their backside. but she hasn't. So, what is she? A satanic order follower. Thanks for waiting. So we'll have to see, won't we? We'll have to see, but we've all got to put pressure on now. I'm going to go over and email my local MP and talk to as many people as possible about it. Also, another thing, if you're in the UK listening to this, and I know many people don't listen to it, but please share and subscribe if you watch these regular. There's an opt-out page now for organ donation. When they take the organ, when you've been in an accident or whatever, they have to take the organs when you're still alive, and they take them with no anaesthetic. So you're still alive, and people are cutting you open and whipping your organs out. So, but you don't have to enrol into it now, you have to enrol out of it. So you need to do that soon as, because it's about organ trafficking. It's about selling your organs to the highest bidder. Okay, so don't believe it when they say, look how many people die every year. Tens of thousands of people die. And look how long the donor list is. Well, where have all those organs gone? And this is where are all these organs going to go when it's compulsory if you haven't opted out? Just ask yourself that question. We're being run by Satanists, and we're allowing them to do it, and it's got to stop. The Creator's coming back, and if you don't stand up now, it'll be too late when he gets here. Look at the old Egyptian traditions where Maat took a feather out of her hat, and I think it was Horus, weighed your heart against the feather of Maat, and if you were found wanting, you had to go round again, and you'll go round again and again and again, and this is exactly what the Bible says. But the people who are real proper Satanists will get thrown into the abyss, but he still gives them a second chance. After a certain period of time, they'll be resurrected along with the rest of us and given a second chance. Maybe this is the second chance, I don't know, but I know something. I'm spreading the word as best I can. I'm doing the right thing as I perceive it. Some people may not agree. Well, I don't ask anybody to believe anything I say. I know what I know, and I'm just trying to light a spark in other people. This is why I'll go back to where I started, and I don't watch the news because in the Emerald Tablets of Thoth it says, or in the book from the translation, it says, those who know don't talk, and those who talk don't know. So all these talking heads on the TV, commentators and news broadcasters. There was a BBC newsreader, a black lady, and she was there on the BBC, and Mum had it muted. It was quite funny because they told me to shut up because I was going 2 and 2 are 5. 2 and 2 are 5. 2 and 2 are 5. Shut up, And but it's true. If you repeat a lie often enough, Goebbels said this, if you repeat a lie often enough, people will start to believe it. But that ain't happening with Brexit because people are inherently good, most people. And they can see their children being corrupted in the brain laundries. They can see their government shitting on them in every way, taxing the hell out of them so they can't buy proper food banks everywhere, and Parliament even says that food banks don't exist. Well, you know, that's the kind of bubble they live in. They know they exist. They won't do anything about them because they're Satanist pieces of crap. And it's all coming to an end. And it's one of the most exciting times in history to live. I think that we're very lucky to live in this time. But a lot of these people around me, in these cars and at work and that, they laughed at me when I told them that 5G was a phased array weapon system. Not everybody, but some, and those are the people who really got them. Anyway, I'm going to knock it on the head now, and I hope you have a lovely evening, and I will speak to you again in a day or so. Take care, y'all.